The longest running soap on television in the world is.
Coronation Street.
There you are.
Yeah.
It first aired on the 9th of November 1960 on Granada television
Mm.
and was about the day-to-day lives of northern working folk, taking a sometimes humorous look about life back then. Very colloquial in its makeup, it shone a light onto the sometimes difficult working life, how it was difficult with terrace housing, high back wall alleys between the backs of the houses, and of course the outside loo,
Yeah.
as back that's what northern life was like.
Mm.
Ina Sharples, the always angry old lady leaving her friend Minnie Caldwell around. Stan and Hilda Ogden,
Yeah.
a simple folk, not very bright, but they did have each other. That was the
Mm.
main thing. Ridiculed sometimes by the neighbours, well, Stan was, and Mrs. Walker, the snooty landlady at the Rovers Return pub. Some of the characters I grew up with in the late 60s and early 70s. Oh, and Bet Lynch, the barmaid.
Oh yeah.
I mention her because I met Julie Goodyear, the actress who plays Bet Lynch,
Yeah.
and was amazed at her moustache. She had a blonde moustache. Let
Okay.
me tell you a little story about that.
Yeah.
When I was a small kid,
Mm.
living up round about the Manchester area in a place called
Mm.
Haywood,
Yeah.
uh, my auntie and my mother, they had tweezers, and they used to
Mm. Yeah.
pluck the facial hair out.
Yeah.
And so, um, my auntie, she decided to bleach hers to try and so she didn't have to pull the
Mm.
tweezers all the time.
Mm.
And this is what apparently what Ben Lynch did as well. So
Okay.
she just looked like a lady with a big blonde moustache.
Okay.
I don't know if women these days have these problems with facial hair. I don't know. I can't say that I've seen anybody with tweezers. I've never seen a woman with tweezers these days.
I think there's other things that I really don't know. I'm just not women's
I
cosmetics
know
things that yeah.
yeah, I know they don't shave.
No.
Well, they might shave their legs,
Mm.
but I know they don't shave their face because it comes
No.
back more. Anyway,
Yeah.
I digress.
Yes.
So over the years, Coronation Street began to modernize,
Mm.
and to me, it lost a bit of its charm.
Mm.
So with storylines getting more outrageous and frequent, the whole situation just started to get a little bit far-fetched
Yeah.
because a lot of sort of disastrous things happened
Mm.
in this small space that we call Weatherfield,
Yeah.
which on one hand was a very close-knit sort of community,
Mm.
and on the other hand, it was big enough to have all these things happening to these people of
Yes.
this community.
Yeah.
So also the replacement of actors with younger people with perhaps less acting experience shows by the style of the series. Some of the older lags can talk in a normal voice, whereas the youngsters are putting too much tone in theirs, and it shows. So that when they deliver a line, they're delivering a line as like they're in the theatre,
Yes.
and it's very false. Whereas the
Mm.
old people, the older actors, have learned how to just chat like I'm talking
Yeah.
to you now.
Yes.
You know. So where does that leave us now? Well, there seems to be a revolt of a lot of the actors complaining about conditions and low pay. 6 cast members will be leaving the program over the next 2 years. 2 months, sorry, next
Yeah.
2 months.
Mm.
Younger cast members are concerned about if there'll be acts and audience numbers are down, way down, even
Yeah.
though Coronation Street is being shown in the old days, it was only twice a week.
Mm.
I think it was a Tuesday or Thursdays, if I'm
Yeah.
not mistaken.
Yeah. Yeah.
But apparently it's almost every night these days.
Mm.
So anyway, and of course the repeats, and of course the catch-ups, and of course
Yeah. Everything. Yeah.
everything else that the British telly does.
Yeah.
Money is also getting tight, which is why the producers are in a scramble to make these ridiculous storylines.
Mm.
They're trying to make these storylines more dramatic. It's a little bit getting a little bit like Dallas. I don't know if you remember the series
Yeah.
Dallas,
Yeah. Yeah. Which is always
but
over
at
the
the
top.
end
Yeah.
at the end of each
Yeah.
program, you're left with a
Yeah.
moment.
Yeah. Yes. Cliffhanger. Yeah.
So, but which in the old days, Coronation Street
Uh,
didn't need that. Didn't need that. You know,
yeah.
basically what we were doing, we were eavesdropping into the life of a contemporaneous
Yeah.
person.
Yeah. People you related to, contemporary.
That's right.
Contemporary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So presently, Coronation Street is only in third place when it comes to viewing figures. It used to be first. It used to
Yes.
be.
Yeah.
So the question is, with all these changes, and will Corrie go bust? William Roach is now 92.
Mm.
He's been in the street since it first aired 64 years ago. He's the only
Yeah.
one who's the whole
Yeah.
caboodle. He played Ken Barlow,
Yeah.
or he plays Ken Barlow. So will it be him that'll be turning off the light as the last man to leave the studio? Let's
Yeah.
wait and see. Let's wait and see.
Okay. Well, yeah. I've never been a soap opera fan. Yeah. What you have to remember, yeah, we're always aware of Coronation Street because they're national icons. Yeah, the characters you've mentioned, Ken Barlow, Lynch.
The
Yeah,
old, the old, the old team.
yeah, yeah. I couldn't tell you about the new ones, and um, I mean, I didn't pay much attention to it at the time. Like I said, it wasn't really going on in my house. My parents weren't into it, therefore we weren't. My grandparents used to watch it. Um, but yeah, even there, you had that one, and then you had, I think Emmerdale came on. Um, you also had EastEnders, Crossroads came in, and EastEnders, um, and then
Brookside.
Brookside. I was going to say Brookside, and then to another point there was the spin-off, or the other one. I'm just trying to remember what it was. The one for
The Neighbours
youngsters.
of Australia.
Yeah, the neighbour. Yeah, yeah. Although it's not the oldest. The oldest running soap opera was actually a radio one, The Archers.
The
But
Archers.
yeah,
Try.
but that's 15 minutes. Now the landscape of, let's say, the landscape of TV of entertainment's changed. Yeah. And I'm going to say this, yeah. I mean, now my wife watches a lot of things, like we could argue they're soap operas, but they're mini series, or they keep going on at breaks on Netflix. Yeah. Which things I wouldn't watch. Yeah. So we've got so much, and again, it's a competition. Now the reason the sensational storylines are coming in is really it started some years ago when there was a rivalry between EastEnders and Coronation Street.
Right.
And EastEnders started to have the sensational storylines. Now, I come from that region in London, or I grew up partly in East London and partly across the way in Essex a bit, in one of the UK, southern, east of London. And I couldn't relate to it. Even the early days of EastEnders, I couldn't really relate to it. Yeah, it wasn't really in reality of the reality I knew. And I came from a working class, straight middle class environment. Yeah. Despite what people try and put on me because of the way I speak, I don't speak with a hard Cockney accent for lots of reasons. And whereas Coronation Street probably had the realism, but a bit of escapism for people, that people could watch it and feel normal. Yeah. Their lives were probably normal. The characters in it made them feel pleasant. And it was almost like watching your aunties and uncles and everything else.
That's right.
And
That's right.
probably people are single or just people needed something, and it gave them a bit of good feel good factor. Yeah. Not deaths every week, and yeah, drug problems and everything else. Yeah. Yeah, normal goings on. But obviously, that's like I said, the competition started to come along. The cheaper branded ones. Crossroads was a very cheaply produced soap opera. Yeah, EastEnders was a big investment, obviously. And the others, Brookside, they built an entire housing estate to do it on. Again, that died its death. Yeah, it became so competitive, and then they were running them at the same times. Yeah, and not everyone had video recorders. Now I'm going back to the 80s, and all this really started to get into being. Um, And probably there's only so much TV even now that people can watch. Yeah. And you've also got different other platforms for viewing as well now. It's like I said, got Netflix. You've got a few that I watch here, Tubi and Plex, which are free ones from the US. Um, you've also got they got older shows on there as well, which people liked. Yeah, it's quite incredible and older comedies. Um, and again, some of the running soap operas. Yesterday, I was watching because I teach English, so I look for new material. There's actually a couple of online apps you can download, and these produce their own mini soap operas, 2 minute, 3 minute episodes almost. Yeah, which would be good for English language students to learn. Very bad storylines, not brilliantly written, but yeah. But again, it's a source of entertainment, and it's on the move with you. Yeah, you don't have to have the iPlayer, the BBC players or the ITV players to watch them. Yeah, and pay additional. They're free. You watch an advert, and then you get to see these things. Yeah. So again, there's lots of competition for our time, let alone YouTube as well, which is, I think, yeah, people are now watching more online content than terrestrial television. Netflix isn't actually as profitable as it has been. So I believe they're having to have a review of their content as well. Yeah. And don't forget their mainstay is effectively soap operas, be they mini series, it's still a soap opera. Yeah. Um, and a lot of them are people are watching the Asian ones for something a bit different when they exhaust watching the British and the Americans and the other ones. Yeah. Even Turkish ones are popular. So yeah, there's a lot of demand on people's time and attention. And younger people haven't really got the attention span, really, or let's put it this way, don't want traditional values for some reason. Yeah, which Coronation offered. It was a nuclear family, a happily married couple with children. The children went to school, they came home, they might have the occasional argument, but that was it. It was a normal nuclear family. Um, and it's probably not so relatable now. And then you're having to bring in other factors as well, diversity, which okay is isn't overblown. I think the soap operas overall get this quite right with the balance of people, and they show them interacting with each other, and they do show the issues that can occur sometimes. Um, Now, whether that helps the situation or not, I don't know. And then you bring in teenage pregnancies, you bring in lots of other things that appear on
Yeah,
the
I mean,
soap opera.
this is what I'm trying to get at is that
Yeah,
in the old days, uh, they didn't try and scandalize
yeah,
things.
mm,
If they had, you know, you're more likely to get Stan Ogden and Hilda Ogden with an electricity bill,
yeah,
trying to work out how they're going to pay it and having to flog something to somebody to get the
yeah,
money to pay them. That would
yeah.
be like the
The
story for them that week.
yeah, yes,
And now the recent one is that they're trying to Coronation Street's trying to parachute a well-known actor, which I mean I've been away from England for far too long. I don't know who the guy is,
mm,
but it is on about a murder trial about one of the. Yeah, I mean we're talking about Weatherfield here. We're not talking about the big smoke in London, you know.
yeah,
So I mean that's what I'm trying to say. They got all these young actors in
mm.
that for all intents and purposes, I'm sorry, they just don't cut it for me.
Well,
Uh, and even that the ambience, the sound of do you know the ambience has a sound,
yeah, yes,
right? And the ambience of Coronation Street, the sound of the ambience is different these days. And I
yeah.
don't know if because they changed the studios, because they've changed all the studios, or
Well,
because they changed the equipment that they're using, and perhaps they're using more digital stuff now than
yeah,
the old analogical stuff. But even so, you know, even the even the sound is different, you know, and it just doesn't.
yeah.
I can understand why they're losing customers.
Well, yeah. I mean, the production values are still high on it, I believe, but it's yeah. I mean, the thing is, yeah. I mean, like I say, older actors are disappearing as well. It
Of
used to
course.
be the other way around. I mean, the stage actors, but yes, they knew they were experienced with TV as well. The younger actors come in. I mean, you can sometimes see it with other productions where you get a young actor where they suddenly he's an old like middle-aged guy now. I think the original thing on TV 30 years ago was awful. Yeah. And they progressed. I mean, everyone needs to start somewhere. Um, I mean, soap operas was always considered a stable role for actors. And they sometimes would have a break from it, go and do a film, come back, they would get rid out of a plot for a while. Um, but yeah, the overall viewing has changed. There's probably not an overall thing. Nobody's quite sure where it's going. In Brazil, the major TV companies are investing a lot of money in new technology. Yeah, because they can see the viewing figures plummeting in Brazil. I mean, yeah, this is what I know about because I've spoken to people in the industry here. Um, the UK is suffering everywhere, suffering. There's so much competition now. There's so much on our time. We go on YouTube to watch one video and we end up watching 4 or 5 within an hour. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, you're not so much as entertainment or the entertainment as I am. You prefer more factual things than I do. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, if I want to have my fun, I'll watch a science fiction film or yeah. I don't even watch real life films now. I'll watch a superhero thing and everything to escape from reality. That's how I do it. Because I do find that some of these modern dramas I can't relate to if they're meant to be real life. And I'm not saying even crime dramas, you watch a crime drama because it was a step beyond your actual comfort reality. Now, yeah, it bears no resemblance to anything I can understand. Yeah. Um, and maybe we've all become a little bit, I wouldn't say sophisticated. Um, Maybe somebody that does a soap opera with a simplistic plot would probably be a winner again. Yeah.
I really do think so because all the
Yeah.
series that
Yeah.
I remember on telly that
Yeah.
I liked were always sort of Last of the Summer Wine,
Yeah.
the one about Open All Hours,
Um,
Veronica
yeah.
Barker, and and they were all very simple,
There was nothing.
retro, retro if you like,
Yeah, but they were
retro
co-
look.
they were
Um,
common. Yeah. And you built a relationship with the characters.
it
Porridge.
should remember it shouldn't happen to a vet.
Yeah. Again. Yeah. I mean, a lot of that was based on the novels of James Herriot, but yeah, it's a little bit stylized. But yes, I mean, yes, you can't have people talking totally Yorkshire.
Well, you can.
I
You know,
I did I
I,
did
I used to enjoy Emmerdale Farm
yeah,
before it became Emmerdale.
yeah,
Tried to modernize it. It's
yeah,
like you said, the Archers on the radio.
yeah.
No, the Archers hasn't really changed.
No, I mean they're probably very limited in what they can do. Well, they're not. I mean, radio plays you could actually do quite a lot with and allow imagination.
Yeah, of
Maybe
course.
maybe that's it. Maybe we're not allowing the viewer, even if it's visual, to have their so much imagination behind them. Um, I mean, people always complain about character development in films, in TV series, and all that. Well, why? Okay, you can see that we're all intelligent enough to know we can watch something and know if somebody's a good guy or a bad guy, and the actor brings a lot of themselves to it. I do think that actors aren't allowed to actually develop their own characters anymore because I'm often reading now about disputes between actors and producers. Yeah. Um, and ultimately, actors are the people that go out on the street. They face the population. They probably have comments said to them sometimes. Why did you do that? And as even I've seen actors say, "Well, I was told to do that." Just that. Yeah,
I mean, I suppose an actor should have a free reign because that's how he'll feel
yeah,
more comfortable if he's within the realms of the possibilities of himself.
yeah,
If he thinks of an idea and the producer says no, don't do that, do
yeah,
this.
yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and
Yeah. There's
oh,
been cases where actors would say to the TV producer, or "Well, that's out of character. That's out of my character." Yeah. Because they live it, they go into it, and I do feel sorry. I mean, feel sorry for actors. Yeah, and ultimately they've got to read lines, and this is always a joke. I don't want an actor that can read lines. I mean, my favorite actors are people that can play anything, really. I mean, yeah, character actors sometimes are the best. I mean, yeah, the well-paid actors are the ones who seem to do the same thing over and over again. Fair play to them. We pay to go and see that. I like the action films. I sometimes don't want to think about the thing. I want to watch an hour and a half film or even a soap opera or TV series and not have to think too hard. Why, yeah, why something is plot holes, who cares? Nice for the plot holes sometimes. Yeah,
Like Jason Bourne. It's
yeah,
Jason Bourne.
yeah,
Let's go chasing each other all over Europe for an hour and a half.
yeah. Well, the
Basically,
idea
that's what it is.
well, the idea of Bourne was it is meant to be an intelligent James Bond. And it was. I mean, yeah, but there's still plot holes in it and things like that. And yeah, but it's entertainment and it's a step beyond the reality, and you can accept that. If I'm going to go and see that, and he didn't try and sell me any notions or ideas. That's why I like the Bourne films. That's why I always like the Bond films, although they're changing a bit now. I haven't seen the last one. Um, but yeah, I watch films from the 80s and the 90s and TV series, I may add, and the early 2000s because they had a simplistic way about them. They get There could be sophisticated plots, but they had a simple way of doing it. Um, yeah, and when you do watch TV series from that period, Expect a Morse, for example, not a lot happened in them TV in them shows, 2 hour shows. What really happened? It was so slowly paced, but it was exciting. It was well done. Yeah, I mean, we've gone away from soap operas because, yeah, it's not something I related to. But I've watched the odd episode when it looked funny or amusing, particularly EastEnders, I must admit, because that was the other thing. You'd probably be more likely when EastEnders came. Probably more likely to watch an episode of EastEnders than Coronation Street because although I couldn't relate to it, it's still yeah more what the characters in it were probably more. I don't know what I knew, but again, um, I even thought the Mitchell brothers in EastEnders were overblown. There you go. You
No,
don't know.
no
Yeah,
idea who they are.
they're a couple of thugs, really.
No.
Um, and
Were they
I what
meant like the Cray twins?
Yeah, it wasn't they want that kind of nastiness, but yeah, the crate.
No.
I mean, yeah,
Well,
but
it's television. You can't have them cutting people's heads off.
well, I don't know. Actually, I mean, I watched a Cray film with Tom Hardy quite recently. That was quite good actually. We played both of them. Yeah, and the Cray films from the 1980s was quite gruesome. Yeah. Again, I'm not saying too much, but I did know people that knew people around them. Yeah. And yeah, they were not nice people at all. They were not Robin Hood characters. Yeah.
No, no, no.
Anyway, but yeah, but again, character development, everything else.